es Teresita Blanco, dear sister, and we're continuing with Saturnastra. This is chapter 49, New Horizons. The Wanderer docked in the northern shores of the West Continent after a couple of months, and those months at sea have been somewhat uneventful. The raw meat ran out after 3 months, and to supplement the diet, Brunhilde started fishing. And when the lumber ran out, Sin suggested eating usually wooden parts of the ship. He did not allow it, and a good portion of the supplies were soaked after a bad lightning storm. The repairs on the ship set the time schedule back a couple of weeks, and once they were to the halfway point, there were no pirates within sight. And the ship sails were in tatter, and the ship almost sank as it tried to dock in the western continent, and thankfully the high tide helped move it along somewhat. He dropped anchor near the shore, and he went downstairs with Brunhilde to pack whatever supplies remained. The trip back will require acquiring new provisions in this continent, and while he and Brunhilde kept themselves busy, Sin took his time to peruse the coast with his telescope. And there were large red cedar block cliffs obstructing most of the view beyond, and the bottom had greatly eroded. In this case, the beach had somewhat bloody red tint, and the cliffs slanted towards the left with numerous gentle mounds, and this section was brownish color, and the water was a dark sapphire blue, and there was also the fin of a tiger shark circling around the little schooner ship. When he and Brunhilde came to the surface, Sin asked, "And do you guys remember to bring money?" He commented, "We had money, but we had to eat it." "Oh, so what are we going to do if we run into another person? How will we buy you supplies?" inquired Sin, straightening out his bangs. "Well, we brought pelts, ceramics, and handicraft. Molded glass at our currency would be worthless, seeing as though we're in a different country as all," explained he. And Sin nodded in approval, and he breathed a sigh of relief. Before getting out the schooner, Brunhilde spent some time looking through their wardrobe, and it was essential that there were something which conveyed the message, "We come in peace." During her time in court, Brunhilde observed the visual communications conveyed by the ladies' attire, and her feral blood made her attuned to the messages conveyed in the people's clothing and mannerism. And there was also the weather to consider. It was barely 100 degrees, and Sin's head was melting off. And after giving it some thought, she dug up 3 attires. And for his wardrobe, she chose a red satin dress, and the dress was tied to the top, delineating his graceful figures and hands. Brunhilde gave Sin a white cashmere dress, and the dress was baggy and the long sleeves a bit thick, and over Sin wore a veil covering the top half of the dress and thrown on the back. And he tied his hair into a bud. Brunhilde wore a Greekish green dress, and it had a golden belt dangling slightly around the waist, and the top was sustained with 2 golden buttons. And he and Brunhilde jumped ashore, and Sin dropped overboard and hovered slightly over the water, and thanks to his float spell, he managed to avoid getting his dress wet. And once on dry land, he tapped on his angler, and he made the ship disappear. The trio walked over the smooth slope, and a strong wind from the ocean was a welcome reprieve from the heat, and he brushed his red shoes over the paths on the ground, and small pieces of lumber were revealed, and this was a sure sign that people had been by the sea at some point or another recently. And once on top of the mountain, they saw a brown savanna for miles on end, and there were a few trees and shrubs here and there. After walking a few kilometers, he saw a caravan. This caravan had 8 horses, 2 elephants, and several dozen llamas and alpacas. The party ran in their direction of the caravan with the hope of being able to barter with them, and after an hour of running, Sin dropped dead, figuratively speaking, and he opened his palm, and a circle with a star appeared on it, and Monkey King had put a design on it to allow him to treat horses like a summon horse, and summoning rituals could be done by just about anyone, and there was truly no magical requirement as long as the right ingredients were involved. And he threw some salt in the 4 directions, and the circle appeared before him, and from the ground Horsey manifested, and he was in the middle of a napping, and he snorted when he saw he and the terrible desert. And he said to he, "I thought you had forgotten about me." "Not really, I was just here and there and too much, and then I went up north, and I know how much you hate the cold, so," said he, pointing in the eastward. "Fine, forget about it, so where are we off?" inquired Horsey, scanning the horizon. He pointed in the direction of the caravan. Horsey narrowed his eyes and said, "I don't don't see anything except for a few overgrown cats. Are you hungry? He shook his head, and then he said while pointing at Sin, this guy is gonna ride you, and we will then match your speed in a human form. Sure, if it is humanly possible for you to keep up with me, snorted Horsey, and he tapped the ground with his left feet twice. Brunhilde dug out from her back a fur saddle and a leather bag collar reins, and he saddled Horsey with a snow fur saddle. And the handle of the rein was soft cushioned, and other pieces of Horsey felt soft to the touch. Horsey neighed and showed his teeth, and the gesture could be interpreted as a smile. He helped Sin get on the horse, and Sis was riding Horsey on the side like a little lady. And he and Brunhilde started running ahead at 60 miles per hour, and the air felt heavy and stagnant, and the sun overhead was scorching dry, and the ocean breeze was barely felt. Sin followed behind while riding Horsey, and Horsey was doing a bizarre swift type of trot, and he maintained some distance to keep Sin from falling off, and from time to time he had to give an odd jump, and Horsey was forced to make a few circular detours to avoid a lioness. And the lioness quit a chase after 5 yards. Even after riding for an hour, Horsey felt more certain about his rider, and he was soon closing in on the others. And he was only 10 meters away from the heat when he and Brunhilde slowed down their trot to prevent themselves from overheating. And by night fell, and he and his friend, by the time night fell, he and his friend had caught up to the caravan. Horsey asked Sin, ever ridden a horse? No, I suppose it can be any different than riding Brunhilde, said Sin thoughtlessly. Is that so? And I thought Brunhilde only allowed he to ride her, said Nate, laughing. No, she did let me ride her once, and when I fell overboard, and I had a pretty good idea how it was done. And Sin nodded frankly, I'm a little bit jealous. I can't blame you. He is a magnificent specimen of the draconic race, commented Horsey. And indeed Sin had no clue over his greatness, and he was a formidable pacifist who occasionally stepped on a few ants. And nightfall was quickly descending, and the group had not eaten for hours, and this was a mild nuisance. However, the dragons can go centuries without taking a bite to eat, though it isn't their favorite pastime to fast. He suddenly stopped and said, and we should stop and eat, and the caravan is within walking distance, and there's no need to be hurry anymore. Sin descended from Horsey, and he sat on the grassy ground, and he breathed in the heat and exhaled an icy chill. And he got up again and sat beneath a dead tree, and he provided something that could be called a shade. Even at dusk, the heat felt exhausting. And Horsey sat down beside him, and there was plenty of wildlife around them, and a wild dog was about to make his move when Sin pounced at him, and he broke his neck. And the wild dogs approached and scattered about, and not bothering to share, the Sin dug his nails into the belly of the beast, and he ripped out guts and out before eating it. And then he went for the fatty sides, the ribs and the liver. Horsey stoically ignored Sin as if he was eating while he ate some dry grass nearby. And Brunhilde got out her fishing lure and bait that turned into a lemur, and with this lure she reeled in a pretty large gray Morelia or python. Citrin swallowed the python whole the same way he had it in the fake lemur, and she then dug out from her back a dry salmon and a large piece of smoked ham. He ate it quickly and dexterously, and he made certain not to bloody his outfit, and it was meaningless effort since his outfit was already red. Sin had made a mess of his attire, and he had gone feral for dieting for a few hours, and Brunhilde had seen she washed the blood off his face with a water skin, and the outfit was the same as before. Brunhilde had a few copies of the outfit since cashmere cloth sold well, and cashmere was a type of hair fiber taken from goats, and it had 3 times as much insulating power than sheep wool. When Brunhilde was done, she started gesticulating to him, and then Horsey asked, can you understand what Brunhilde is saying? And Sin put his fingers close to his thumb, and shaking his head, Horsey commented, I heard words, and at least she's speaking nonsense that resembles sentences, and the trick is the hand gesture, paying attention to the hand gestures as well. And he tended to gesticulate like 2 Italians whenever they spoke their secret language, and this gesticulation was second nature to them. And Sin was mostly raised by his human mother, and as such he was not too entrenched in his draconic heritage. Then again, dragons had a watch and learn mentality, and they did not expel themselves to their broods like other species tended to do. And frankly, there was no need to do so. Dragons tended to be quite bright and rarely so helpless. Sin narrowed his eyes as he heard a perfect summary of his lack of skill. When the party was presentable, they continued training the caravan, and this time at a much lower pace to avoid making them paranoid. And we found something that could be called a crossroad, and the party made its way towards it to casually engage the caravan. And we were all at a close distance enough to see the traveling party, and most of the people in the group were wearing white robes, turbans, or veils, and the maidens were sporting fancy jewelry, and a portion of them wore ornamental crowns with their veils trailing behind them. And of these maidens, their dresses had elaborate embroidery, and they also wore a ring in their annular. That's like a finger. And all of the men were clean-shaven with the exception of the eldest who wore ornamental beards. And the men were all tan and had curly black hair and brown eyes, and the maidens had lighter skin, and their eyes were either black or brown color. And the Onesco were wearing black attires with long, elegant capes, and the weapons included spears, bronze shields, and damask swords. And they also did not wear armor since it slowed them down. And they were the only people in the group riding horses, and there was also the female archer riding in one of the elephants. And like the man, she was bald, and she had slanted eyes and round ruby earrings, and she was the youngest of the mercenary group, a mere 12-year-old maid. And based on the trail of animal corpses we had scattered along the way, it was her job to shoot down any wild animal that might attack the caravan. And with just a single arrow, she could fell any beast. And before getting close enough to the group, she gave us a warning shot, and at the sound of her bow, 30 mercenaries took up positions around the caravan, and like we had expected, the entire group was paranoid thanks to our party's odd look, and the archer readied another arrow as she aimed it right at his forehead. He smiled and said, "Hi." The man we assumed was the head mercenary stepped forward and said, "Strange to see ladies like yourselves traveling alone. Forgive our rudeness. If you do be fools, perhaps, and if not, your trickery will only serve to bury you." Señor Brujilda chose to let her do the talking, and she did not understand the mercenary much, and Brujilda could understand, but she wasn't in a mood for dealing with them. "My name is Hahi, that's Brujilda, and the other is Sin, and my mount is Horsey, and we come in peace," said he, putting his hand over his hat and bowing with his left hand outstretched to the side. Are you a maiden or a lad, brother?" asked the mercenary. The mercenary tried knew the correct pronoun. He shrugged his shoulders and said nothing, and this made the people within earshot start laughing. Slightly less paranoid, the mercenary asked, "And they call me Abiel, and I am of the Fang tribe. In search of wealth my charge goes." "And do you mind if we travel with you? There is 60 in number," inquired he. "Except the Fang does all the mauling, and pay the piper, little brother," said Abiel, rubbing his index finger and his thumb together. "This was the universal sign for 'Give me money.'" So now he's shaking his head. "Then we will take the horse," said Abiel. And he says to the horse, "This nice man wants to buy you." Horsey narrowed his eyes and he shook his head, and this made Abiel chuckle. And he was indeed a nice man. However, the fans were duty-bound not to lift a finger without some sort of payment. And one of the merchants in the caravan came to Abiel and said, "Ask for some cloth or artifact, and I will pay for the sailor's passage." Abiel nodded and said, "Pretty dresses, bunny bells, a horse saddle, some jewelry maybe, anything at all would do at this point." And Brujilda was rummaging through her large pelt bag, and she got out from an intact polar bear pelt, and the merchant saw her having a trouble lifting the belt out, and he came to help her with the burden, and he was also not too keen on having such a lovely pelt dirty by the sandy ground. The merchants examined the pelt from head to claws, and the mercenaries and the other merchants were coming closer to see the pelts of such a mysterious animal. And according to our guide, none of them had ever seen a bear in this continent. And Abiel asked Brujilda, "What is this?" Brujilda was about to respond, but she shrugged her shoulders in response, and he said, "Brujilda speaks, yet she refuses to say anything." "How unfortunate." And the other girl, "What's her problem?" asked the merchant. "And I don't mean to be rude, but what are you people?" He shrugged his shoulders, not understanding what the question, and Abiel intervened, saying, "Travel with us. The fan guarantees your safety, esteemed, let's say, ladies." And he and his party took their place in the center of the caravan along with the other woman. And the caravan continued on its merry pace until nightfall. Around this time, the caravan diverged towards a freshwater lake, and the people opened their tents beneath the few trees. Brujilda too perched up a tent, and this one was composed of elegant white wool with golden embroidery flowery patterns, and its square shape was big enough to fit 4 people. While Brujilda busied herself, he went to sit by the fire, and the red dress glowed a deeper crimson before the flame. Abby was kindling the fire before his tent, and Hinatoria soon that no woman knew how to light a campfire or serve the flames. Abby said to Ahi, "Not from around here, are you?" He shook his head, and Abby rose and brushed the dirt from his knee, and he said, smiling, "No matter, Many beside her tears has traveled its dusty roads at night." Abby brushed up a bit of the ground and revealed a fragment of a mosaic road, and pointing forward, he said, "A remnant of an ancient and powerful empire, and its roads are still used even today. And one can still see them if you bother to dig them up. I have an interesting story if you want to hear it," he said, laying down. "Sure, why not?" said Abel, sitting down cross-legged on his left. Sintu sat beside him, hearing to hear one of his bizarre whimsical stories. He started as thus. There was a powerful lord hunting in the desert, and he hunted many large beasts, tigers, elephants, and lions. And the animals eventually got tired of being hunted by this lord, and thanks to the lord's bad karma, he got attacked by a sphinx. "And let me stop you there. What is a sphinx?" inquired Sin. "And also lions and tigers don't live in the desert." "Huh. So you finally do feel like talking," said Abel, chuckling. Abel then added, "But do tell me, what is a sphinx?" "A sphinx has a body of a lion, the wings and bird wings, and the torso of a woman," explained he. "That sounds hard, brother. Continue," said Abel, yawning. "Like I was saying, the sphinx told the Lord a riddle, and she asked him what lives on its own substance and dies when it eats itself," said he before being interrupted again. "It's a fireplace," asked Sin, raising his hand. "A firework, like those shiny ones that start real bright and they get smaller until you have to throw them again," said Abby, holding an imaginary sparkler. "No, the correct answer was a candle. If the sphinx had been here, she would it in your heart like she ate the heart of the Lord. And since she has slain her victim, she cut him into little pieces and spread him all over the desert, and she left a knife on each body part to stand as a warning against poacher," continued Rahim. "And seriously, the story was gruesome in somewhat far-fetched. And when the Lord's mother saw it, she asked the sphinx for permission to bury her son, and the sphinx gave the mother the same riddle. And when the mother answered correctly, the sphinx killed herself, as was tradition. And the mother buried all of the pieces of her sons whenever she found them, and it was too much of a hassle for her to stitch the body back together. And eventually an oasis grew on top of each of the buried body parts, and that's where oases come from in the desert," explained he, finishing his story. When he finished, he noticed that Abia was resting his head on his hand, and this guy was pretending to be asleep. He got up and he went to eat a catfish Brunhilde had caught, and soon two things came along, and the night was peaceful, and there wasn't a cloud in the sky, and the Titan moon was crescent shape, and everything was peaceful in the desert. Alright, that's the end of it.